Hello, everybody. So I'm back from my little break and I have a great story to start off the new year. So, first of all, Merry Christmas, belated Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a
Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year. Wait a minute. Did we hear that?
Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year, y'all. Happy New Year. Because if you are listening to this, when this actually came out, it will be coming out on New Year's Eve. Ooh, I love the timing. So I have an awesome guest. This is Kelly. I've known Kelly for a very long time. I've known her for probably about I always count anyone else does this, I count like my kid's age because it's kind of like pre-kid, before kid, after kid, right? Life before kid, life after kid. Okay. So I met her around the time he was very small. So I would say it's about 13 years we've known each other. Um Woo! And she came out here. She was one of my students. I'm going to let her talk to you about it. This was kind of a long one because we had a lot to talk about. We have a lot we're promoting, and because we're doing some projects together. But also, just this story is just amazing. The psychic reading story, and that is what this story is, and it's not what you guys think. So hold on. Thanks to my cat who decided to make noise. But anyway, I wanted to let everybody know. I know you guys all loved the Bigfoot story that I had on recently before we excuse me. Excuse me for my burp. Excuse me. Um be when I had Sarah on. I'm going to be having her on again. She has some more stories, some kind of more paranormal-ish stories, I believe. And I have someone else that I'm planning on having on. So I have some people lined up. But I wanted to kind of just, if you didn't notice, when I recorded with Sarah, she was so worried about her side of things that I put on the wrong mic. So if you notice my voice is a little bit distant, it's because I have a new camera and I put the camera's mic on, which is not very as good as using my own mic. Anyway, so my new mic is on. My old mic is on. My new camera is on. I hope this is all going well. But I want to jump right into it. I just wanted to say Happy New Year. I wanted to let everybody know
Happy New
who's
Year, y'all.
there you go. I want everybody to know who's on my Patreon. If you're not on my Patreon, join my Patreon because this is the best way you could support all the work that I do going into the new year. I'd love to have more people in there. I am doing classes, but I want to know, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could do for the people who are the sacred scholars. Sacred scholar people get access to, I put out a class a month, a video class. I have to be clear for everybody because a lot of people don't realize it's a video that you can watch whenever you feel like. But I'm thinking about doing adding something else, and I'm just trying to this is how I do things. What comes to me, or sometimes people give me suggestions. I'm open to suggestions. I'm happy to hear whatever you guys are interested in me doing. But if you join my Patreon, I post every day an energy climate, what the energy is like for the day. But I also do the speed reading. So I just want everybody to know January speed readings are going to be a little different. I'm not going to tell you. Well, maybe I'll tell you. So I'll tease it so that those of you who aren't joining, maybe you'll want to join. This time, usually I just do a speed reading of what comes to me, kind of general. This time, this is going to be what I see that you may need to focus on, meaning as we're going into the new year, I know this is a time we want to kind of reassess and reevaluate what we want to change, what we want to improve, what we might have abandoned about ourselves. So I'm going to kind of let come to me the area in your life that you may need to put more emphasis on, whatever comes to me. So I'm just going to be a little bit more specific on this speed reading in January. So look for that. If you want to just join the regular membership and not the Sacred Scholar, it's $5. The other is 10, so it's really not a big deal difference. You can. So I look forward to doing the speed readings. All right. So the announcement that me and Kelly are working on is the light wands. She is redesigning the light wands. They look very similar to uh they look a little similar to something in the Star Wars world. Um, but yeah, she's working on the light wands, which are the incense holders that I started, but they are now going to be resin. She's going to be able to make different colors. It's going to stand up. She's going to be showing us a little sneak peek of them when you hear from her next. Also, we are working on mugs for the house medium and mugs for the medium brew. We're starting off slow and because we want to get it right. For the medium brew, the mugs will be color changing. So as you pour the coffee in there, it will come up the medium brew cafe. For the house medium, we'll have different sayings like follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, things like this. So, wand drop, things like this. So, oh, which reminds me, I got to cue something up. I got to cue something up. Just, keep talking, Adela, while I have to talk to myself. Um, yeah, so I have some like things that we've been working on. It's, we want to make sure that we're doing, you know, we want it to be right, if that makes sense. I don't think I found my one drop, but that's okay. We want it to be right, so and Kelly also got sick and we had to like push stuff back. But it's just not one of those things you want to rush. She's very, very, very gifted in her craft that she does, and she's a witch. She does crafty things and she does witchy things. But because this particular episode is a little bit long, which is fine for New Year's Eve, I'm going to go ahead and get started. But I have one last nice little surprise for you. I put a 50% off of my readings to my website went down for 2 days on Christmas Day. So I re-put it out for people to use. But for everyone who doesn't listen to my podcast, they think the special is over. But if you are listening to my podcast right now, I'm going to extend it for another few days. So if you want to go ahead and get 50% off of readings to help you with the new year and such, the code is holiday. But I'm not going to be promoting it on my Instagram. I'm not going to be promoting it on Patreon. This is just for you guys who are actually supporting this podcast, give you a little extra. A lot of times, what I find is that everybody's getting their information from different places or sometimes at all the same place. So go ahead and you can utilize that. It doesn't work on gift certificates, but if you do want to get a gift certificate, I have another way you can do that. Just email, don't DM, adelevine@gmail. With that said, let's get into our email. Speaking of emails, the psychic reading story is, and yes, I'm very excited about you hearing all the things from Kelly because she was an awesome guest. Hope this isn't too loud. If it gets too loud, I'll turn it down. When I was a freshman at USC, maybe I'll turn it down a little bit. I'm always tweaking because what sounds loud and sounds weird on here doesn't as so much when I'm listening. So it's always difficult. When I was a freshman at USC, I went to Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade with my friends and we decided to take a walk down the pier. Now, USC is no joke. We talk about this when I interview her. But also, the pier was very different when she went in the 90s. Just to be clear, I want people to have that in mind as you hear the story. It was a lot more empty back in the day. Even back in the day in the 80s, it was very empty. With my friends, and we decided to walk down the pier, we saw a trailer on the pier right by the Route 66 sign. It said psychic readings, and the reader was sitting on the steps. We were walking past, and she called out to me saying, I needed a reading. I said, I've never had a psychic reading before, so she told me to come in with my friends and could come with me. I remember thinking it was strange that she was the only one there and that the inside of the trailer was not what you would expect it. It was pretty bare. It had a couple of cubicles, and inside the cubicles, there was just a desk with chairs on each side. There were no tarot cards or crystal balls or even crystals, which is very interesting because I really, really thought when she wrote this, that she was going to tell me, oh yeah, there was all these things, and it wasn't. There was a few photos of the psychic with some celebrities, but for the life of me, I can't remember which celebrities. We sat down and she had a message for me that were important messages for me that were important. She mentioned I was gifted, but I wasn't listening. I was blocking. She went into detail on some of my health issues, and I'm getting chills while I'm reading this, by the way, which I found out years later was endometriosis. Then she went into detail about a man coming into my life, and she said I would know who it was when he looked at me and smiled. She described him in detail and didn't sound like anyone I knew at the time. She said he was going to turn my life upside down many times over, but he was important for my growth. At the time, I still had feelings for someone back home in Michigan, so I left there just thinking it was fun, an entertaining experience. I was the only one who got a reading. A week later, the guy I like back in Michigan told me he had a new girlfriend. To cheer me up, my friends and I decided to go see a screening of Jerry Maguire on campus. While waiting in line to go into the theater, one of my guy friends who lived in my dorm room introduced me to his friend. After talking with him, so they're waiting in line. After talking with him, we realized that we had some strange connections. At one point during our conversation, he looked at me and smiled, and like this weird energy washed over me. This was the guy the psychic was talking about. So the next day, my friends and I went back to the beach, to the pier, to see the psychic. We found the trailer, but the psychic reading sign was gone. It was now the Santa Monica police station. Wow. Okay. Thinking that maybe she just moved to a different location, we asked the police. Thinking that maybe she just moved to a different location, we went inside and asked the police if we could find her. They looked at us like we were crazy. They said, "This is the police station, and it has always been the police station. It was never a spot for psychic readings. The inside of the trailer did look different, but it looked to the side and I could see the cubicle where I had my reading, except now it was someone's desk with a computer and a bunch of papers on it. So needless to say, we were freaked out." My friend, who was a big X-Files fan, was immediately saying it was a sign, it was a jinn, it was other supernatural being. Basically, she was using all kinds of examples from the show. For me, I was glad that my friends had witnessed it all. Otherwise, I would have felt like it was losing my mind. I did obsess over it. I kept trying to think of a rational explanation for what had happened, like maybe there had been a different trailer that was temporary and moved, kind of like a gypsy wagon. I kept going back there whenever I could to the pier and to the area around the trailer, hoping I would find her again. She was so right about the guy. He did turn my life upside down over and over again, but it was what I needed. After meeting him, I joined the school paper to spend more time with him, and my first big feature was on psychic readings. You heard that, everybody. Correct. I went back to the pier again, looking for her, but found other psychics and metaphysical stores instead. Santa Monica became my happy place. I even wound up getting a job on the promenade that allowed me to stay in California instead of returning to Michigan during our summer breaks. So that psychic, or whatever she was, provided me with that push that I needed to move myself in the right direction. Since then, whenever I felt stuck or confused, or my life doesn't feel like it's my own, a psychic or a medium shows up in my life And through readings or classes, they give me that push to get my life back on track. And yes, whenever I'm in Santa Monica and I go to the pier, I still look for that psychic. The trailer is gone and the police station is a permanent structure now, but you never know. Woo! I just got chills. I have chills. Let's hear what we had to say, or what I had to say to Kelly and what she had to say back. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm back after a break, after Christmas break. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. Because if you're listening to this right when it comes out, it will be on New Year's Eve. You heard me read Kelly's email and her mystery psychic, and I have her here with me. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
So, backstory, I've known Kelly for a really long time. I don't want to age us, but it's been a while. It's been it's been over 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm
It's
older
yeah.
than her, so it'd be aging me more. So, yeah, I met Kelly when I was teaching classes in person in IRL back in the time where we did classes in the flesh, in life, and not just online. And she came she came to a class I used to teach one per week. I would teach
Mhm.
a class series, and she came with other people. And I think what's cool is not only have we kept in touch, but you've kept in touch with some other people from the class.
Oh yeah.
But I felt like it was like
Mhm.
kind of really a little bit like a community, a little bit. At least I was trying to make it a community without it becoming a cult. That was my goal.
Well, we call each other our soul sisters. The little
Yeah.
group that we formed in your class are our soul sisters.
Oh, that makes me like whenever I'm like, is this mic on? Is anything I'm doing helping anyone? And when I hear stuff like that, it makes me really happy because I want people to meet people who kind of feel like they're the weirdos of the world and then they can find each other. That's why I do this podcast as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I mean, we all felt that way, and then, I mean, the girls that I bonded with were there for me the hardest night of my life when my dad passed away,
Right, right.
and they were right there at the door, like, that
Hmm.
night.
Yeah.
So, and you were there too, and well, I mean, you weren't there in person, but
Right, right, right.
that that community is what got me through the hardest time of my life.
Oh, that's really nice. No, I'm serious. That makes me really happy. So I've known Kelly. She's also, one of those people that I sometimes have on this podcast, or some of you have taken my classes, or some of you I've, enrolled in my mentorship, where I kind of look at you and say, okay, you have so much shit happening to you. It's obviously not them, it's you. There's something about you that has these abilities. And I feel like for Kelly, it came really natural. If I remember, she didn't really think it was coming natural because she's very cerebral, I would say.
No. Yeah, I did not think it was natural at all. I was trying to always find an explanation for
Yes.
everything.
Yes. I'm glad that you say that because I have a lot of those. I have a lot of those who come on this podcast. I have a lot of those who take my classes. You know who you are. Who I always joke and say, I know there's a lot of logical explanations to a lot of things, but sometimes there's a little bit of something else. I mean, I just believe this is a science we don't understand yet anyway. So I don't think you can't, not put your thinking cap on. But you
Right.
also are very intuitive. You sense things about people. One thing I notice, I'm just going to throw this out here because I don't want to give away. I want to save some of it from when we get into the email and I tell you what I see and
Okay.
stuff like this. But I mean, about who you are. But one thing I noticed with Kelly, I believe over the years, you were always really good at kind of reading right through people. I feel like you
Yeah.
are more that way than like she's like bullshit, bad person, good person. Like a
Yes,
lot of the stuff that was going on around that class, you called it like a long time ago.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I mean, that whole
in the
place.
place I
Yeah.
was having the class in, let's to be clear, the
Yeah.
location. Yeah. You picked up
Yeah.
on things quite a bit
I have a
more
very
than I
good
think
bullshit. Yeah, I have a
detector.
very good bullshit radar.
That is called, I would say it's called being intuitive. And a lot, the problem with being an intuitive person for a lot of us is that if you're an intuitive person and you really trust it or you really want to believe in it, then you don't want to, then you feel like what comes with it almost like a guilt of like, oh, maybe I'm just like being bad about this, mean to this person or give them a chance. But Kelly has like a unique way where she's like, no, that's what I see. That's what I feel. End of story. I feel like it's maybe because you're not sure if this is your intuition and you're just kind of counting
Mhm.
on maybe you like assess the person really quickly or something.
Well, it's that instant gut feeling. It's like you look at somebody, for me, I look at somebody and I can tell if they're lying or
Hmm.
it's if they're being fake. I don't like fake people.
I think that's what
And
it is. It's the fake part for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and that's my instant like, okay, bye. Like, and one of my friends in college said, "You were such a bitch when I met you." I'm like, "Well, you're being totally fake when I first met you." So, yeah, I can be a complete sweetheart or I can be a complete bitch, but if I see you're being fake, the bitch comes out and I'm like, "Bye." I don't,
Don't let Kelly
like
fool you. She's got like the biggest goddamn heart ever. But I feel like you don't let too many, you may be giving your heart to people, but you don't let too many people in if you don't feel like you can read like they're coming from the right
yeah.
place. Yeah, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. That's good boundaries.
Yeah.
Good boundaries. Okay, so the other thing about Kelly before we get into this, which I'm really excited that we're starting off the new year with a whole psychic story because I am psychic, so I do like that it's kind of fitting the whole house medium vibes. But the other thing about Kelly that I kind of just found out when she came here. So backstory, of course, obviously Kelly used to live in LA. She no
Mhm.
longer lives in LA. She lives in the Midwest where it is raining. So she thinks you guys can hear the rain. I can't hear it. But if you hear noise, because I get a lot of times I'll get emails where people say, "Oh, there's this," and I have to say, "No, that was this." Sorry, I wish it was, I know we want it to be paranormal. It's not. So, FYI, if you have really, really great speakers or headphones or something like this, and you got some cool shit at Christmas that's giving you crisp sound, clear sound, she has a lot of rain in the background. Also,
Yes.
please admire her Christmas tree in the back of her because her mother would appreciate it. Mom, we did it.
Yes. Yes.
So
The Christmas tree. It's
the
very
Christmas
important in the
tree.
Midwest. You gotta get that
It's
Christmas tree
you
up.
got to get this Christmas tree. We were talking about it. Christmas tree, the napkins, the
Oh, yeah.
plates, the whole
I got the
nine.
Christmas tree up on Christmas Eve for her, so she had her Christmas tree.
Kelly's been sick, so she got it. We were supposed to record before, but it kind of worked out because I was like, you know what? I'm going to take some time off anyway, and then we'll just like let her heal and we'll come back at New Year's. So it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
As when you see, this is why you don't push things. You just go, maybe the universe is just kind of, telling us to go this direction. But when she came here, she's the one who took me to, hey, wait a minute, where's that mug? Is that mug better still be? And no one better broke that mug. Remembered the mug I got
Oh, you from the
um,
horror vibes?
from the horror coffee shop. What is it
Mhm.
called again?
Horror Vibes Coffee.
Horror Vibes Coffee. I think that was
Yeah.
like
On Lankershim in North Hollywood.
so well done there, don't you think? The
Oh, yeah.
aesthetics were amazing. I think they did like sometimes you get the aesthetics, but the food is shit, or you get the aesthetics and the coffee shit, or there's it's like they only rely on one thing, right? Maybe just the nuance of everything, the
Right.
novelty. But this place had really good coffee and
Yes.
really amazing art and aesthetics and I
The
got,
mural, that big
the
wall that was a
mural,
big, long
right,
mural was
mhm,
amazing.
was amazing. There were a guard on the bathroom, though, remember? There was someone guarding.
Yes. Yeah.
But I got I got a mug that said, "I will die for coffee." Isn't that what it said, I think? "I'll die for
Yeah.
coffee," because you got the T-shirt.
I got the T-shirt.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she got the T-shirt. So, I didn't realize how crazy much of a horror fan, Kelly is, because she always was like, maybe it's that Midwest girl in her. She always had this, like, I mean, I can see through people. I know she has these boundaries, but I always saw her soft heart. And I always saw her, I didn't really see this horror side of her, but she's really into horror, but she's also crafty, like
Yeah.
amazingly crafty. She starts showing me pictures of things she's making, and I'm like, "Excuse me, you made that out of wood?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just took my wood maker." I don't know what the hell. She goes, "I just took wood
It's a laser cutter. Yeah.
laser cutter." And she has a whole setup in her basement. And you're working on advent calendars for Halloween, right? We're doing
Yeah.
a little promo, Kelly, so speak up. Okay. We're promoting
Yeah.
Kelly. I'm the type of person that I how do I say this? I won't go crazy over something if I don't think it's amazing. I'll just like go, wow, that's cool. But when so if I'm telling you this was like amazingly done well, I could all the quality, because I love things that are unique and handmade, even though I'm not crafty. I like will buy those things from people. But I love looking at, you can tell when someone's put a lot of like heart into it, is my point. When it's not just
Yeah.
like, cookie cutter. And she has this great idea to do advent calendars for Halloween. And I'm going to tell you, I saw somebody on Shark Tank
Mhm. Yeah.
who's doing advent calendars for different things,
Uh-huh.
but it was for gnomes.
Oh.
It was gnomes. It was an advent calendar, gnome advent calendar,
Uh-huh.
which I don't know why that's a whole business. And then she did advent calendar gnomes for Halloween. This is not what
Okay.
Kelly's doing. She's doing an
No.
advent calendar that's
No.
like wood, and then you open the drawers and you could put whatever you want in it for Halloween. Come on.
Yeah.
I know all of you paranormal people at are listening to this are probably like, "Holy shit, that's a great idea, isn't it?" I'm just
Well, and
saying it's a great idea.
it wasn't originally my idea. It actually comes from the Lugosi family because I'm really, really good friends with Lynn Lugosi Sparks, who is the
Oh,
granddaughter
that's
of
right.
Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
And her and I bounce around ideas a lot for different things. And I was telling her how I was trying to actually make a spell kit. I thought it'd be like 13 days of spells. And she's like, why don't you
Oh.
try a Halloween advent calendar? And I said, why don't I
Oh.
make one for you as like a Dracula one? And that's how that
So, you're
started. It is
saying stuff that first of all, I gotta give her this hand of applause. I was looking for it because, come on. Both of you, it's a brilliant idea. But
yes.
that you're throwing this stuff out there and people are like, so when is that happening? When can I get it? Like, are you selling those things now
Well, we've been in talks about it. Right now, Lynn is focused on finishing the biography on her grandfather.
on her
And this
grandfather?
is gonna oh yeah, it's like I don't know even know how many pages it's at right
I
now, but
bet.
she's added like 700 family photos to this book.
Jeez.
And
Wow.
like they've interviewed people from Hungary that knew him back then and all
Mhm.
the like great big stories, and it's the good and bad of Bela Lugosi.
Okay, so it's
And
honest.
yeah, they did a Kickstarter and it was supposed to come out in July, but they're still working on it. So hopefully by Midsummer Scream in
Do
2025.
people know about it? Is it like anticipated?
Yeah, if you go to any of the Lugosi family social media, they talk about the book.
Mhm.
And right now the people that are getting it first are going to be everybody that gets it through the Kickstarter.
But
Um
besides that, what about your advent? We're talking about Kelly. You notice how she's like promoting other people. What
I know.
what about your advent calendars
Well, so
and
that was
the
the whole
stuff
thing of
you create that you
having
make?
the advent calendars come out with the book release.
Okay. But what about the
So
other things that you're selling currently?
the other things that I sell currently, well, the
Yeah.
advent calendars have been I do them on a custom basis. Like people have hired me to do custom
Okay.
designs. So that's when people approach me for that.
Mhm.
Um because it takes me a long time I handcraft it. Like each
Right,
piece is
right.
put together,
As
painted,
you're
stained,
talking, just
everything.
drop your where people can look at it so that if they're because when
Well,
I'm listening to stuff, I go look it up.
right now it's on well, I've got pictures of it on my Facebook for Lunar Luminaries, which is my candle company.
Nobody goes on Facebook.
I
Where is
know.
it
I
on
gotta.
where is it besides
It's on
Facebook?
my. I have it on Instagram,
Okay. Uh,
TikTok. As
what's
long
a,
as we have TikTok,
what's
Lunar
we're going to have
Luminaries.
TikTok. Everybody calm down. TikTok isn't going anywhere. Uh, but okay,
Lunar.
we're going to work on a different name for Kelly cuz we need
Yeah.
something
Well,
more
Lunar.
fitting for her.
Yeah, Lunar Luminaries has been for the candles that I make. That's why that name
Right.
came
Right.
about.
Right.
Um, because I sell intention candles and spell kits
Mhm.
through a local store here in Michigan at
Michigan.
Canterbury Village.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
So we're going to work on Kelly learning how to promote herself. You see,
I
it's
know.
very much something I have to teach people a lot of times.
Well, I'm
But
used to publicizing everybody else.
yes, we're going to work on it.
I
Okay.
know.
So they're really, check out what she does. You can follow her on Instagram. You're Kelly on Instagram though, right?
I'm Brinker Kelly on Instagram. So
Brinker
yeah, I
Kelly,
posted on.
Brinker Kelly. I'll tag her. So when you hear that, when this comes out, of course, I'll tag her. I don't tag everybody that comes on here unless they want to be publicized. A lot of people don't, but I'm making Kelly be publicized, so she doesn't have a choice. The other, so because of that, she does all this amazing, she's showing me all this stuff. And then me being selfish goes, ding, 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 ding. I have these wands that I want to get made. I have no fucking idea how to do anything like this. And what I was doing them, we've changed the name to light wands from incense wands, light
Yes,
wands.
light
And I
ones.
was like getting them printed 3D, which was making it too expensive, making me totally terrified that you guys were going to burn it and melt it. So I was like, you get an idea, you come up with it, you start it, you try to do stuff, and then you just tweak it. So then I said to Kelly, "Do you think you could make something of this?" So this is what we have so far. Show everybody who's watching. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can go over to 17 minutes in and you can see it if you don't want to watch the whole thing.
There are two
But
of
this is
them.
the base of it so far. So
Right.
show them and tell them what we did, what we changed it.
So the original one had like a loop or something
Yeah.
on the twirl
Yeah.
on the bottom, so you couldn't stand it. I wanted them to stand,
She wanted them to
so that
stand
way
up.
you can't
You
see
could
that I'm
just put
standing
it
on my
down.
computer. So you
Yeah.
could stand it on the computer, and then there's
Right.
gonna be a little swirl up here, and the middle part is where you'll stick the incense stick in, and
Yes. And
so
then
it'll
so
hold
that
it.
way you can pick it up, make it like a light wand
Yeah,
that you can go around the house, and then you could just stand it up and it will like burn down.
yeah,
And it will
and
be
it's
made out of resin.
resin, and I these ones I specifically did like high heat resin, so they can handle high heat.
Okay.
Um,
She has all this in
so
her basement, everyone. I mean, she's serious. Okay, what I want people to know, these are two that she's made, but we're going to do different colors and
they're
you
not
got it.
finished,
They're not
so
finished. So just want everyone to
no,
know this is the beginning of it. And what we're going
this
to
was
do yeah, she did the mold out of copper and then she's using that to make resin. And what we're going to do is you just got to know each one will be unique. So it will be different
yeah,
for each person, meaning like because she's doing it by hand.
right.
So stay tuned. It's just that Kelly had to heal and there was different things going on. It's not easy to just start like doing stuff like this. It takes a minute.
Yeah,
And then we're also doing some mugs, and we're going to do the house medium mug, and we're also going to do the medium brew mug. But the medium brew mug,
yeah.
we're going to do, why don't you
It's
explain
going
to
to
people?
it's gonna be like those color changing mugs. So it'll look like a solid black mug, but when you pour hot liquids into it, then the logo will appear.
So it'll be
So
magic.
magic.
Get it, magic mugs. And then the other mugs will be sayings like follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, you know, things that I've said, stay in the light, whatever. We're going to come up with little things. But we're starting slow. I believe in like
Yeah.
starting just a couple of things and then we'll see as
Well,
we
we gotta get
go.
it right and get it the
Right.
way we want it.
Right. Yeah. And when I say we, she shows it to me. It's my I'm very like flexible. Like she's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Sure," because
As I
any of
redesigned
that stuff. You're
everything.
right. She's redesigned it a few times, and I'm like, I'm open. I'm totally open to all of it. So let's get. So just stay tuned if you're
Yes.
interested in wanting to know about it. I want to start an email um, lists, but I feel like nobody likes those, so that's why I've never done one because I just don't get as good feedback from people on email lists. So follow me on Instagram on the House Medium. Follow Kelly at Brinker Brinker Kelly. I will tag her. Follow me at the House Medium. Follow me at Adele Levine. Follow me on TikTok because believe me, I'll be putting it up and you will be able to get first awareness of this. But now we need to get to what this podcast is about because you're like,
Yeah.
is this I feel like I'm doing what is a TV show where you sell stuff? I
Oh,
people
like an
are like,
infomercial?
yeah, am I doing an infomercial? I'm not. For you young people who don't know an infomercial, then you would
I
just see this.
started in infomercials when I was in college. I was in the
Okay.
RotoZip infomercials.
Okay, well, we don't want to do an infomercial today. For those of you who are too young to know what an infomercial, just imagine TikTok shop. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what infomercial is. Okay, we're going to get to her email now, I promise. So, this is awesome. She had an experience with a psychic reading when she was going to USC. So, those of you who don't know LA or familiar with California, USC is kind of in the heart, which, by the way, now that I say that out loud, what the fuck, smart girl? USC, that's one of the
Yeah.
top schools. That's an Ivy League
With a
school.
scholarship too.
See,
I worked my butt off.
brainy,
I wanted to get the hell out of
brainy.
Detroit.
Yeah, which she did. She just went home because it was a pandemic, like a lot of people
And
went
taking care
home,
of my
and
mom. So,
and because of your mom, right? So she did. USC, no joke. It's a very hard school to get into. Okay, but the weird thing is, it's like in downtown ish, and it's in a weird. It's not in the
yeah.
best area.
It's not a good, especially back
It's a
then. That
bit.
was the 90s. It was
Yeah,
not a good neighborhood in the
it's back
90s.
to that now, Kelly. It's
Is
back
it?
to how it was in the yeah, it is. Then some. It's actually
Yeah.
worse. But it's still one of the top schools and it's near Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade, which is used to be back in the day very hippie-ish, now is very snooty-ish, which is it's so weird. It was like where I used to get my glasses and go to Venice and anyway,
Yeah.
done with that. You're like, Adela, get to the
Mhm.
email. Okay. So you saw a trailer on the pier. So I want to set this
Mhm.
up. The reason why I'm going
Yeah.
over what it was like. So if you're familiar with Santa Monica and you're familiar with Santa Monica Pier, today there's so much stuff on it. There's like rides and there's all kinds of things. But back in the day, it was like a merry-go-round and like the pier. There was
It
hardly
the roller
anything on
coaster
it.
was there. The roller
Well,
coaster was there, and there was a because we were going back. There was a little food stand.
the
That's
roller
actually
coaster
where.
was there in the early 90s.
Yeah,
It was?
yeah.
Okay. But it wasn't like today with all the rides and all the
No,
things. It was pretty and when I
no.
was a
There was
kid
like
in the 80s, there was nothing there.
there was
Cuz
the
I
merry-go-round, and they had one of those like pirate things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And they had
Well,
the roller coaster and they had the arcade, and that was pretty much
that was it. Well, I
was
was
it.
a kid in the 80s. It was only a merry-go-round. That was it.
Okay.
So now, if you go to Santa Monica today, you can't picture it. So I'm just trying to say, so picture she's going to a pier that has a roller coaster, one other ride, and a merry-go-round. It's very bare. It's not the Santa Monica you see today. Oh, excuse
No.
me, in case you've been there. So take us through what happened. Go ahead.
So we had gone to there was like a little food place right there. It was like right when you first kind of got onto the pier, past the Route 66 sign, and we got hot dogs and some fries, and we were just gonna go walk back to where the roller coaster was. And as we were walking back, there was the trailer off to my left hand side, and this lady was just sitting there smoking a cigarette, sitting on the steps.
Pause. What does she look like?
She had long, dark hair.
It was me. I'm joking.
No, actually, it, in a way, it does. She, if I think about it, she reminded me of you. Um,
Okay.
she had on. I'm trying to remember what she had. It was like almost like a Stevie Nicks type. Actually, kind of like a sweater that I'm wearing.
Okay.
Um, but it was long, like to the ground. I can't
Okay.
remember if she was wearing a skirt. It was just I just remember her sitting there smoking. She's like, "You," like pointing to me. uh you need to come over here and have a reading. And my friends are like, what the hell? And I'm like, no, I okay, sure, why not? i'll I'm game. I've never had a reading before. i've
Mhm.
I've seen my great aunt do readings, but I've never personally had one. So
Mhm.
she's like, come in. And she was just very like, you're having a reading, come on in right now. And she opens the door, and I was expecting like a gypsy wagon or
Mhm.
something.
Right.
It was just a plain like trailer. It was like one of those like temporary construction type trailers.
Okay.
And we went inside, and it was bare. There was just a couple cubicles, and there was nobody else in there. So she sat us down in her little cubicle, where all there was like, I would say a desk, but it was really just a table, and there was chairs on either side. My friend sat down with me. The other
Mhm.
ones grabbed chairs and brought them over, and she sat across from me. There was no crystal balls, no nothing. She had some pictures. And for the life of me, I'm trying to remember who was. I just was like, okay, these are cool celebrities. My first thought was like, was it Tom Cruise or something like that? But I can't
Okay.
remember who was in the photo. But that's all the decoration she had, was photos of
Interesting.
her with celebrities.
Okay.
And I'm
It's
like,
weird.
okay, this is weird.
Yeah, that
No
is
tarot
weird.
cards, nothing. She grabbed my
Oh, she
hand.
didn't even have tarot cards.
No.
That was my next
And
question.
I was expecting tarot cards
Right.
or some kind of cards.
Mhm.
Like my great aunt used playing cards. So I'm thinking some kind of cards or a crystal ball, like
Yeah.
something. Nothing. She just grabbed my hands and held my hands, not even like flipping them up for like a palm reading. She was just holding my
Right.
hands and looking me in the eyes. That kind of
Mhm.
made me slightly nervous. Like, okay, you're looking a
Yeah.
little too
Yeah. Yeah.
too far
Your
in.
animal instincts are like, "Don't. You're staring too close to my
No,
eyes." Mhm.
and then she was kind of holding my hands. She's like, "You have abilities. You're not listening." Like she was giving me a lecture, and I'm like, "Okay, this
Mhm.
is not what I'm expecting at all." She's like, you know, the kind of things that you've said to me in the past, like, you're not listening to what you're being told. You need to be listening. And I'm like, who should I be listening to? She goes, you know, you have to be listening, and you're not listening. So stop it. And then she starts going off on my health and my period and not drinking enough water and like just painful period. She's going off on all this stuff that I needed to watch it and that I needed to go get it checked. Um, and I, of course, did not listen until years
Mm.
later.
What a surprise! Not listening to
And
a psychic.
I know,
Nobody
I
does.
know.
Okay, go ahead.
So, but I was like, this is not what I was expecting. She spent like
Expecting.
this whole time going off on very, very personal health issues that she never should have known. Like, even my friends that were sitting there didn't really know.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
Interesting.
you don't talk about your periods with your friends all the time. Like, at least I didn't at the time. But
Mhm.
at that point, they're like, "Do you really have periods that bad?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
So those were things that was like, okay, this is odd. I'm thinking I'm gonna get like love readings and future success. You're gonna be no, I didn't get any of that. And then
Mhm.
she did go into a guy was coming into my life and that he was going to turn my life upside down over and over and over again. But I had to accept him and I had to let him in. And then she started describing him like to a T. And for me, I was like, that doesn't sound like anybody I know at the moment. Especially when
Mhm.
she was talking about his eyes. Because I was thinking about the guy that I did like that was in Michigan
Mhm.
who just had like basic brown eyes. And
Mhm.
she's like, no, no, no. This guy, his eyes are going to be everything. And he's going to look at you and he's going to smile. And you're going to know that he's the one. He's the one that's coming in to change your life. Like, okay, awesome. All right. And then she was, I paid her like $20 and
Mhm.
I asked if my other friends wanted readings. They're like, no, we're good. And she walked us to the door. We closed the door, we left, and we're like, okay, that was weird, but I guess that's what a psychic reading is.
Right, right,
None of us
right.
knew we'd never had one before. And we just went about
Okay.
like, okay, that was interesting.
Mhm.
And I think then we walked down, we went to the arcade, played some air hockey, and
Mhm.
then, went back to the dorms, not thinking really of it again. And then I don't know if it was like a week or two later that the guy that I did like at the time, I talked to him on the phone and he told me that he had a girlfriend. And
Mm.
so he didn't think that it was fair that he's continued talking to me anymore. And I was heartbroken. So to cheer me up, my friends and I went to on campus. We had a movie theater because it's USC. And they would play movies that had left the theater but weren't on VHS yet. We
Right.
didn't have DVD. It wasn't on VHS yet. So they were screening Jerry Maguire. And
Okay.
so we decided, all right, we'll go. And I think it was like a $3 show. And we had the tendency, like, we would go to these things all the time. They were called DKA nights. And we would go Friday night movie. And while we were standing in line, a guy that lived on my dorm floor said, hey, I want to introduce you to this friend of mine. And he introduces me, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Um, this guy was a former child actor that I
Mhm.
didn't recognize. He was popular in the 80s, and my friend that was with me recognized him.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't really care who you are or anything like that. Because I had just gotten my heart broken. But we started talking, and I ended up sitting next to him in the movie theater. And he told me all these. We found out we had all these connections. I don't want to get specific just
Yeah,
because
yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
he's very private and I don't, you know,
But is this the one?
this turned out to be the guy. Like, I
Right.
was standing up and he looked up at me and he smiled. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I had that feeling in my gut. Like, this was the guy. Like, this is
This
what
is the guy. Yeah.
and then I thought about the description she gave me, and it was him to a T. So that was
Okay.
on Friday. So Saturday night, we decided to go back to the pier because
Right.
now my friends are like, okay, she was spot on. We want readings now.
Yeah.
So we,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
so it's
I've I've
great.
I've I've experienced this phenomenon where I've had people go like tell their friends. It's so I get it. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
going to go look for the psychic now.
So we decided to go back to the pier and go look for her. And so we go back past the little hot dog stand thing to where the trailer was. But I'm like, wait, the sign's not there. It doesn't say psychic readings anymore. It didn't say anything, actually. It was just bare. So we opened the door and went in, and there was like a counter right there, and behind it were police officers. And we're
Okay.
like,
What are you doing
we're
here?
we're looking for this
Does any of
psychic
you
that
do readings on our moonlighting doing psychic readings?
yeah. We're like, okay, are you did something happen? Like, did she get arrested? Like, where's the psychic that was here? Like, did she move locations?
Mhm.
And they're like, what are you guys talking about? There's no psychic here. This is the police station. This has always been the police station. And we're like, well, a week or two ago, it wasn't. It was psychic readings. And I looked over and you could see where the cubicle was, but now it was like somebody's desk. And there was a computer there, and there it was all like decorated with family photos and just like papers everywhere. And
So
we're
my
like,
okay, quick question. So
yes.
my question to you is this was 2 weeks later, right? Wasn't the next day.
No, it was like 2 weeks later,
2 weeks
somewhere
later,
around there. Mhm.
and when you went to look for this place, did you guys look and see is there any other trailers existing that we
After
missed?
that, we did come out. When we came out of
Okay.
that trailer, we walked
Mhm.
around because I was like, no, there, I swear to God, it was right here. And so we're
Okay.
like, well, maybe there's another trailer. So we kept walking around. No, we didn't see any other. That was the only trailer that was there. And at the time, there wasn't much, like you said, on the pier.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to
So
emphasize to people that it's very empty. Mhm.
this was the only trailer. And I think it was even like a
Okay.
grayish blue, too. Like, and that's what it had been before. But it didn't have the neon sign in the front. And so we were just
Mm.
like,
So there was
what the
literally
hell?
like even a neon sign that said psychic,
Psychic reading. Yeah.
and she's sitting out there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did the police think when you were telling them
They
this?
thought we were crazy.
Of
Like,
course. They were like,
they're just
"Okay,
like,
you guys are obviously
they're
high.
like,
It's fine."
yeah, move along. Like, because we were like, are you sure they didn't move somewhere? And they're like, no, there's no psychic. They're like, if you want to see a psychic, go, they're down on the, the walkway. You can get like a $5 palm reading. Like,
Yeah, just so everybody knows that's what if you ever hear me make a joke saying I'm not like doing readings on Venice Beach, that's how it was when my concept of psychics of in in the 90s was before I really came out and told people was this idea that they just kind of sit on the pier, they have a little card table, and they have tarot and they just like for 5-10 bucks. So did you go try to look for her there
yeah,
in
we
that area?
walked all over. We went and walked down until like my friends were like, okay, this is enough. But I was like, no, she's got to be here somewhere. I didn't imagine this. You guys were all there.
Mhm.
And then my other friend who's like huge X-Files fan was like, "Oh, maybe it was a djinn or I
Mhm.
don't know." It was like she was like thinking about these different episodes of the show and I'm like, "No, that's not it wasn't a genie. It wasn't an
Like
archangel
gins, so
or like."
so people know gins are like I've had people tell me all the time, especially if they're from the Middle East or India, they'll talk about gens, and gens are supposed they think I'm talking to gens when I talk about aliens because
Mhm.
they're able to shapeshift basically. They change their image and they change what they look like, and they're not like genies in a bottle, but they kind of like are able to appear basically. So
Right.
that's so
Yeah.
funny. So you guys, so did they think it was weird?
They all thought it was weird, but they were just like, "Let's just leave it at being weird and not go further into it." Like two of my other friends were
They
like,
didn't
"Let's
want
just
to go
like."
into it.
No.
Oh, see,
Where
this is the reason I'm asking is because one of the things I look for when it comes to paranormal stuff, if you witness something paranormal with someone else or have an experience, they people when it's real, this is for everyone listening, know this. People will not want to go further with it. If it isn't real, then people kind of don't care and they will and they'll like investigate. But when it's real, it scares people so much they almost don't want to know. I'm just saying
yeah,
as a lesson to know this is why when people say how come we don't know more stuff or more stuff doesn't happen, this is why because we chicken out and we go forget it, I don't want to know. So
right.
this makes sense. Okay, so after that, you never investigated again?
No, I kept looking. I kept looking every
Okay.
time I would go to the pier to see. I always kept looking to see if the trailer would pier or maybe she would be somewhere else. And then, so from the guy that I met that I liked,
Mhm. Mhm.
he was on the school paper, and being a girl, I joined the paper to get to know him better and hang out with him
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the first big features I was assigned was on psychic readings.
Oh
So I'm
my
like,
god.
I'm going to Santa Monica, and I was looking for to do different psychic readings. And I tried to find every possible psychic I could to get a reading, and it just
The
wasn't the
same.
same. You did the $5 ones because
Right,
I had to
right,
write about
right.
all the different ones available. And I
Right.
kept going to the pier, and I'm like, okay, she's not there. So I up until the day I had to turn it in, I was still going back, like maybe I'll find her, because all they had down there was like the psychic eye bookshop, or
Yeah.
um, there wasn't anything that
Mhm.
felt as
Right.
legit as what I had
Yeah.
experienced. But at least this time, like I went on a research way, so I was like learning about the different types of readings, and that there was classes, and that's when I think I even purchased my first real tarot deck during
Okay.
that time. Um so I could look into that more.
Mhm.
But it was like me having to learn more about this world.
Interesting.
But yeah, I kept looking. I
Interesting.
kept going back and looking, like even that's still in the back of my mind even now when I come out and visit and I go to Santa Monica, and I'm going to still look for that damn trailer. It's not there.
There's definitely no trailers there anymore.
No, yeah, and
Okay.
it's been a couple decades, but yeah.
Right. All right, let's get into it. All right, I got it. So, first of all, I want to kind of say to you what is very kind of fascinating to me, just as a psychic, a professional psychic, and as me on a personal note. When you said she was sitting outside on the steps smoking a cigarette and then said you, I
Mhm.
literally have joked over and over that this is going to be me in the future. That this is how I want to live in the future. That I
Okay.
want to live somewhere and have a house, maybe have a little coffee shop, like maybe in Hawaii or somewhere, the Medium Brew Cafe, and I'll come down off the hill and I'll be smoking a cigarette because I always say by then, like, who cares? I'll be older, and I'll just be like, maybe I'll have one cigarette a day or something. Maybe I'll do this. I just have this vision. I've had this vision of me, and I'll just walk up to someone, and go, I'll give you a reading. So when you
Well,
described her that way, it was tripping
yeah.
me out, first of all.
Well, you did kind of do that to me when I met you. Is I came with my friend Nairi to the
Yes.
store,
Mm-hmm.
and we were checking out, and you were coming down and doing, what is it, would they pay you out at the end of the day or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Nairi had already taken your class, but your class had already started, and you had a thing on there that said that once the class had started, you couldn't really come in, or it felt like, I think they said
After
that.
3 classes, yeah, because I did six. I did a series of 6
Yeah.
every week, and then I was like, after 3, or almost missed half the class. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do
So
remember
you
that.
turned
Mm-hmm.
to me and you said, "You're in my class." And I said, "No, I think it's too late to sign up." So I just said, and you said, "No, let me rephrase. You're in my class. You're taking my class." Like you just said it like that's it. Like I will see you next week at my class. Like that was it. That was how I met you.
Wow, Dayla. Well, it's funny because that's what's interesting is that I almost feel, I do believe you saw something. It's hard to explain. Let's put it this way. I don't believe in angels in the traditional sense, but I know for a fact, and this is what comes to me to tell you, that when you start your spiritual journey, there'll be people that will pop up in random places.
Yeah.
Like it could be a bus driver, it could be someone just, handing you a pretzel at the pretzel stand, and they just say these things to you that are kind of trying to guide you onto a path. When
Yeah.
you are willing to be open to it, whether you want to call it angelic, Jen, alien, fae, whatever, I have seen
Mm.
that this happens, and that sometimes it comes in a form where you're like, I don't feel like that's quite human, and sometimes they're being spoken through. Someone's being spoken through, but it is this idea of like, I'm here to kind of just get you on your path. Because look what happened to you is like after she did this put you on that path. Like
Yeah.
now you're buying tarot cards. Your first report was psychic readings. That's no accident.
Yeah. And it
And
got me
so,
into my field
mhm,
at the time was getting into journalism, getting
into
into
journalism, right? It was pushing your
yeah.
path in a certain direction. Not to mention, Kelly didn't mention, but a lot of the health things that she told her turned out to be true because she does, like in the future she found out she has what did you
Endometriosis.
right, which has a severe, which is why she's having the severe cycles.
Yeah. I had to have a
So
couple surgeries, so yeah.
right, so I feel that this was, and I feel like that's why I always have that vision of me, because I really feel that's how they really work. They really
Mhm.
kind of act more grounded, more human ish, less pious in the way that biblical ways show kind of angelic or guideship. I mean, I believe guides just take a form into a certain form, but I believe it was more of an angelic type of experience. And it's not going to
Yeah.
always be like this, oh, like people think. Sometimes it's a little abrupt, a little aggressive, because it's
Yeah.
like, hello, get on your fucking path already. You're at
Yeah.
USC, smart girl. This is the
Yes.
path you should be going down, right? It's very
Yeah.
much what I believe in. I do find it interesting that you kind of describe her similar look, which might be why you felt comfortable with me even when I met you, because those things get in your subconscious like a seed planted. And so here I am now. You're at another psychic experience, and I'm like, you're going to learn. And one thing Kelly always talked to me about when she took the classes, having that group helped her. It helped her with other mental health things she was going
Oh
through to
yeah.
kind of have a place where she can kind of like feel like she can be herself, especially if you're intuitive and you're denying it, being in a group of other people that support that. But I feel this was definitely what I perceive as angelic beings tend to be like. Like I said,
Yeah.
you can call it alien, you can call it anything you want. And I kind of feel, I'm going to do one last thing that comes to me. The reason she had pictures of celebrities behind her was more about you and about the work that you might be doing and the work that you wanted to do, which
Yeah.
was you ended up getting into photography and you ended up getting
Mhm.
into
Taking
film,
pictures of celebrities.
taking pictures of celebrities.
Yeah.
Ding, where's my mic drop? I'll do it later.
Mic drop, yeah.
I have
Well,
a
I
Von
mean,
drop.
yeah, I look at it
Hmm.
and I was trying to see if I wrote about it in my journals. I kept journals during that time. For some
Hmm.
reason, I typed up that one on a floppy disk that I have no way of viewing now. But in my handwritten journal, during that exact time period where I ran into her, I was still hanging too much onto Michigan, hanging onto the past, and not
Hmm.
embracing life in California and not really fully moving forward like I needed to. And it's like
Hmm.
she kind of came in and gave me that push that I needed.
Yeah.
Because not just like telling me about learning to trust myself, listen to my own inner voice, um, meeting that guy that I meeting him, I didn't want to go back to Michigan.
Yes, it
That
kept you
like
on this path.
I was so mad that
Yeah.
first summer that I had to go home, but I ended up
Hmm.
coming back early. So it
Hmm.
kept me pushing me onto that path I was supposed to be on.
Right. Right.
And
Yes.
if I hadn't run into her, hadn't had that, I probably wouldn't. I probably would have gone home from Michigan and not come back to USC.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to
Interesting.
be. I've had. It's funny. It's like there was another time, just like when I've gone to get psychic readings, it's always when I'm at a point where I feel lost, like my life is not
Mhm.
my own. And I had moved back to Michigan before, and each
Mhm.
time like I would go somewhere and find a psychic. There's not that many out here. Um and I'd get a reading, and that would again catapult me back
Mhm.
to getting myself on track, going back to California. Like I still, like we were talking about, I know I need to get back to California. I just
Yes.
came here to do what I had to do. And now I'm in
Mhm.
that feeling like my life is not my own again. And then I've got you giving me that push again to,
Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to push her.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's what I feel that spiritual people do. That's our job as readers, as teachers, and help guide. You know, it's very much more to push people in directions and let them start finding their footing. She didn't tell you
Yeah.
like this is what you should do and not do, or she was like this is what I
No,
see, and
she was
it's
opening
kind
my
of
eyes.
she was opening your eyes, and that's the job. That's the job, and that's why I feel like that wasn't an accident. I feel like something unique, and I've heard of stories like this before. Sometimes on a bad end, where someone's trying to be led down a darker path. Because I've had this happen to me, that every time there's a crossroad when I started this journey, sometimes I
Mhm.
would meet someone that was almost trying to get me away from the path and deter me. I've had that happen too, as well.
I have
And
family for that.
don't we all? But yeah, but I've also had like crazy experiences where a bus driver just started talking to me and saying, knew about my life. And I was like, how do you know what I was thinking? And he's like, I
Mhm.
know. And just, I started to learn when I started this path that this happens. So if you pay attention, and that's why you want to be open. This is just for everyone listening. If you're open to experiences and you're open to things you like, you wouldn't have had this experience if you weren't like, okay, screw it. Might as well just try a psychic reading.
Yeah.
You have your brain and you have your good judgment of people, what I would call your intuition of people, that you know if this was going to be bullshit or not, so you could trust that. So you let yourself be open to an experience. You're not going to have these magical experiences if you don't let yourself, be open to what's around you. So if
Yeah.
someone's, like I said, if someone's talking to me on the bus and I just like shut him down, then I wouldn't have that magical experience back in, this was like the 90s. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened. I think it's a pretty awesome story.
Yeah, because growing up, my great aunt was a reader, and I always knew she had abilities and could see ghosts, and I had instincts as a kid, but I was always told, don't tell anybody about it. Like,
Right.
you're gonna think
That's
you're
common.
crazy, don't say
Mm,
anything. So I used to always say, I'm not weird, I'm gifted.
yeah.
But I I would keep to myself most of the time because I felt like I couldn't be myself. I couldn't
Right.
really
Right.
trust any of that because maybe I was crazy. And then I get
Mhm.
to California and it's like, no, you're
This
not
is where
crazy.
all the
This is
weirdos are.
yeah. Yeah. And then literally meeting her, it was like she was telling me, you're not crazy. You need to be listening
Yes.
to yourself. It's
Right.
okay. And I
That's right.
didn't have that because I had suppressed all of my
Mhm.
craziness or whatever. I Any abilities I had, I tried to hold it back until I met her.
Right.
And she held like and I still remember like she held my hands. Was like, "Stop it. Listen,
Yeah.
you're not listening. You're blocking it and
Yeah,
stop doing that."
that's kind of what I mean, is that sometimes that energy, whether it's in the physical form or the other realm, it's kind of like slow down, pay attention, listen, and look around you, and you will get the direction you need to go. This was an awesome story. Thank you for coming on, Kelly.
You're
I
welcome. It
loved
was
it
fun.
so much. And I feel like I will definitely be her one day. I know I've actually done things like that for people that I sometimes think like maybe they think it was something else, because I've dropped things in people's laps. And I do feel that there's an element that's, I'm not saying that what I did is the same as what you experienced, because I don't. I think this was otherworldly. But I do
Yeah.
feel that there's something that tells me sometimes I'm very guarded on doing things like that, in the world. But if I feel something
But you
telling
did
me,
do it to me.
I did do
You
it to
did
you. I
you did
since
do it to
then
me.
though, I've been way more guarded, but maybe as the universe speaks to us, maybe the universe is trying to remind me, like, maybe don't be so guarded all the time, Adela. Maybe
No,
it's
because by
okay.
you doing that to me, you changed my life too. So,
Oh, I
you know,
appreciate that.
you
Yeah,
get that
I'm so
feeling to do it for
happy.
somebody else, do it.
Yeah, well, I maybe that's the lesson I need to hear, because I do have strong boundaries, but maybe sometimes it's okay to start lifting them a little bit. So I got something out of it, because that girl reminds me. I mean, I don't smoke anymore, but but when I
You
get
did when
older,
I met you.
oh, I did for sure.
Yeah.
And it was kind of part of, I used to smoke and communicate. I used to use the smoke, and it's very Native American, beliefs of using the pipe to use the smoke to communicate with the ancestors and stuff. I did have
Mhm.
that vibe then. But I feel like, I believe when I do a reading or I do have a guest on, there's always something coming back at me. This is how I feel like the universe works. We can teach and help each other, and this was a good
Mhm.
reminder for me to get back into the magic of things. Thank you so much, Kelly, for
You're
coming on.
welcome.
And by the way, everybody, look for the stuff that we'll be creating, but also go
Yes.
check out Kelly's stuff. I'll tag her. If you're listening to this, go to my Instagram. I have her tagged. Go check her out. She's very talented, and she's got a really good heart, which means she puts her heart into her work. Thank you, Kelly. Happy New
You're
Year.
welcome. Happy New Year.
All right. See you guys soon. I love this one so much, because I'm not joking when I have said many times, when I get older, I'm going to be sitting outside having a cigarette. I'm just going to walk up to someone and say, "You," and read them. I do believe that we have people like this. I have had numerous experiences. And if I could get my butt in gear and write this book, I would definitely write about it there, where I have had someone just walk up to me and say something, especially when I was beginning my path. One time, this guy was selling like flutes. I know this sounds very magical. In LA, on the streets, he made wooden flutes, and he had a bag of them on his back. And I used to see him going down, and he asked me what I did. And it was when I just started reading, and I said, I paused, and he grabbed me, kind of similar to what she's saying, like grabbed my hands, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "Never hesitate to say who you are. Don't be ashamed." It's like, how does this guy know this? He just wants to sell me flutes. And he had dreads, and he just kind of looked magical. I remember even thinking then, I do believe there are people that walk around that get spoken through, that messages come through them. I'm sure I have freaked people out. I've had people get freaked out, like, how did you know this? Because I have said things to people when they've needed to hear it. I've had that experience. So I am one of those people that things come through, but I do believe there are beings that kind of pop in different forms and say things in a certain way. And maybe that's why I always have this fantasy, because I want to do that. Or, like, I don't feel like it's a fantasy. I think it's a foresight. Like, I foresee that I'll be this role in people's life one day, instead of doing it what I do to now, because I do believe it can help change people's lives. And I guess according to Kelly, I already did it with her. And I do also believe the universe, as we go into the new year, speaks to us in different ways, kind of reminds us things. Lately, I've been feeling very mundane, in the mundane energy, kind of wondering where my magical self is. And I feel like this was a reminder. Me telling her this is like, don't be so guarded. Don't be afraid to be yourself, and Let people see who you are and what you can do. Let the magic back in. And that's what I would love to challenge all of you with as you go into the new year. Be open to the magic. You're going to get those messages. It's not always going to come in a way you think. It may come in a completely different way. So be open to it. You may get the message from a person, from a song, from somebody just passing by, or someone saying it to you and they don't even know that they're telling you something important. The signs are always there. When we hung up, she talked about her mom watching the Leave It to Beaver show over and over. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I used to watch that show as a kid because it was on reruns as a kid. And I used to do that imitation of it with my own mom. And I kind of felt like it was my mom who passed, kind of saying hello. My father passed on New Year's Eve, the day of New Year's Eve. And I always try to kind of look for the signs from him. I always try to celebrate New Year's instead of being sad, because that's the type of person he is. I don't want to say was. He was a person who believed in the positivity and not in the sadness, in the light. So I challenge you as you go into the New Year's is to look for the light, because I know a lot of people are a little nervous about going into this year. But look for the light, be open, allow yourself to see the magic, find the magic. It's around you. You just have to be willing to say yes sometimes. Kelly said yes. She kept her heart open. She kept her mind open, as logical as she is. Thank you, Kelly, so much. So I announced everything at the beginning, the 50% off and all that stuff. I don't want to ruin this moment with those things. Go take a listen if you missed it. I have a bunch of things that I announced at the top of this podcast, but I hope that you look and feel the magic in the air, because it does exist. And thank you, Kelly, for reminding me, because she said, you helped change my life the day I met her, and I said, you're going to take this class and I'll see you there. And I said, I've been guarded ever since then, gone through a lot of things and the work that I do. And she said, don't be so guarded. And it makes me want to cry, because this is what I believe. I learn from all of you. I feel the work that I do bounces right back to me. So thank you all so much for the support and the love you've given me this year and all the years. And thank you so much for allowing me to do this work for you. I really, really do mean that. And I hope that you find your magic. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.